All right, hello. Um, so I'm going to be talking about how my lesson adheres to the Assure model. First of all, I just want to introduce the main premise of the assignment. So the kids are going to, after they have the first presentation with the copyright rules, they will come down to the library uh, and they will be working on making their own board game or card game. They're going to make a game in general on the copyright guidelines, okay, for other people to play. And then we're going to grade it and evaluate it using this rubric that I've created. I'm going to go into that in a little bit when we get down to the E part of the Assure model. So, let's look at the slides. So, Assure model, okay. What I plan to do is my group is going to be, my target audience is going to be 11th to 12th graders. They're going to be a mix of on-level learners, ELLs, SPED, and 504 accommodated students. Okay. Differentiation is going to be primarily choice. They're going to have a chance to express themselves in whatever the way they feel appropriate to demonstrate their knowledge of copyright guidelines within the parameters of that rubric. And they'll have that rubric on hand to reference before and during the project. And we'll go through it together before they get started. But they can choose any type of media that they want. They can use their iPads to program a game. They can make a digital game. There's coding clubs and things where people are very interested in doing that. There would be there'd be paper. Well, we'll get into the materials in a minute. But they could do things on paper. They could make it physically. They could make something as simple as a matching memory game or a trivia card game, or they could get into more detail with a board game, depending on how motivated they are and how much of a challenge they want to make it. So groups is another way to differentiate. I want them to not be stuck with people from their own clique. Okay, I want them to spread out. So I would talk with the teacher, get to know what groups are best. There are going to be some SPED kids that need to be with their in-class support teacher. ELLs are going to need to be mixed up with certain people that can help them for peer modeling. Okay, and then there are going to be 504 accommodated students that need reduced work. My plan to accommodate that would be with reduced rubrics, so they wouldn't have to make, they wouldn't have to make a board game or a game box, or they wouldn't have to make the commercial, or they wouldn't have to speak in front of the group or present. There's a lot of anxiety that goes along with that. So it all depends on what they're accommodated with and what groups they would be in, but they would get reduced rubrics. Now, the state standards and the objectives. The objective for the lesson is going to be able to identify and model and demonstrate the copyright guidelines in order to use sources ethically in research and future works. Okay. So the strategies I'm using are groupthink, peer editing, collaboration. Okay, they're going to take the knowledge that they've gotten from the previous lesson, and they're going to plan. The plan is to give the students choice within parameters to succeed in the common goal by making and producing a game. So the materials and the technology and media that they're going to be using is going to be iPads. Everybody's going to have iPads. That's it's a 1-to-1 district, so we have iPads. Construction paper. They're going to have crayons. They're going to have pencils, scissors, tape, staplers. They're going to have a lot of the normal miscellaneous craft materials that they're going to need for this, depending on what they choose to do. This will be a 2-day project, so they're going to be able to gather materials from home if they need it. But this is also going to be planned out ahead of time, so before they come down to the library, they should already know the basic idea of what they're going to be doing. They'll have their rubrics, so they'll be ready to go from the start. Okay. Technology, media, materials, how we're going to use them. I'm going to have a cart or a table set up on the side or in the front, where all the materials that everybody's going to share can be borrowed and returned. Okay, and then they're going to have group tables where they can work on their stuff in their groups individually. The room's going to have plenty of charging ports, plenty of outlets. They're going to have access to plugs, basically. And then if they don't have a charged iPad, which I'm sure many won't, you're going to have to, I'm going to bring some extras just in case, so that way they can charge those things up and get started. The presentation that's going to cover the information over the guidelines is going to be on PowerPoint. I'm going to have it posted in Schoology, so that way they can access it while they're doing the project, and they can reference the information as they go along. Requiring learner participation for R. Okay, students are going to are expected to check in with discussion boards. So in general, that'll be the one place that I can check and make sure at the end of the day, what did they do? What did the individual do in the group? What did the whole group do? And then I will be walking around and checking on individuals and helping with any questions or concerns as the project takes place. All right, and then evaluate and revise. So this is where my rubric's going to come into play. So in order to see, to evaluate their success, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the rubric to see how well they demonstrated their knowledge of copyright guidelines. So if I go through the rubric, which is posted as part of the assignment, you can see how I broke it down into did they incorporate the topic of copyright guidelines? Is the game playable? Is there an instruction booklet? Is it vague or hard to read? Is it clear for instructions but missing imagery? You can see how I've broken it down in the rubric and how I would grade the project. And again, with the reduced rubrics, they wouldn't have the video submission or the game box. Okay. But that's how I would evaluate. That's how I would follow the Assure model with this lesson. Thank you.